Bertha Russell might have won society, but she's about to lose everything else. Episode 5 didn't just shake the foundations of the Gilded Age, shattered them. George said he might not be there when Bertha returns, and the look in her eyes said she finally felt fear. Real fear. Not fear of being excluded from a ballroom or outbid at a charity event, but fear of losing her home, her marriage, her purpose. And now, as episode 6 looms ahead, every character is caught in a web of betrayal, power plays, and emotional destruction. Marian's heart is on the line, Oscar's past is catching up with him, and Gladys, she might be stepping into her mother's shoes faster than anyone expected. Let's dive deep into episode 5's emotional wreckage and then look ahead, because the episode 6 trailer promises things will get darker, sharper, and more devastating. Asterisk, everything in episode 5 felt like it was falling apart at once. And it started with that one look George to Bertha, a man who's always stood quietly behind his wife, a pillar of strength, now cracked open and hollow. His words weren't just bitter, they were final. Don't expect me to be here when you return. That moment wasn't just a line, it was a warning. Bertha has pushed too far. We all saw it. The flirtation with the business tycoon in front of her own husband wasn't just strategy, it was cruelty disguised as calculation. Yes, George had asked her to be charming, but Bertha crossed the line. She didn't charm him, she enticed him, and George saw it. And now we're watching a marriage unravel thread by thread. Gladys's storyline, meanwhile, gave us something different. A slow burn becoming a roaring fire. England isn't what she thought it would be. Lady Sarah isn't just cold, she's venomous. And Hector, he's spineless. He's been following his sister his whole life, and now he's trying to drag his new wife into that same shadow. But Gladys is a Russell, and that fire is starting to show. The moment she asked her mother for help, that wasn't weakness. That was power in the making. Because Bertha in New York is terrifying, but Bertha in England, fighting for her daughter, that's something even Lady Sarah should be afraid of. Then there's Marian and Larry, the engagement that felt like a dream finally turning into reality. But reality is never simple in the Gilded Age. The Haymarket, the whispers, the doubt. Marian's heart is fragile. And we know from the mid-season trailer that this love story is about to twist into something painful. Agnes's disapproval was expected, but Bertha's rage when she finds out, that might just make the engagement unstable, especially when she learns Larry made a choice without consulting her. And Bertha never takes betrayal well, not even from her own son. Oscar finally got what he's been waiting for, a face-to-face with Ma Beaton. But it's not the satisfying moment he wanted. Not yet. Because even though Ma is back, she's slippery and she's dangerous. Based on real life. Con artist Cassie Chadwick. This woman knows how to survive in high society better than most of the elites themselves. She's not just running scams, she's running circles around Oscar. And while he might want his money back, what he really wants is redemption. And we all know, in the Gilded Age, redemption is the hardest thing to buy. Meanwhile, Peggy continues to fight for a life that's hers, not one others try to control. Mr. Fortune crossed a line, emotionally, professionally, morally. And finally, Peggy had someone beside her who said no more. Dr. Williams' confrontation with Fortune was pure gold. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was dignified. He didn't scream, he didn't threaten, he simply told the truth. But the real storm is still at home. Williams' family, especially his mother, sees Peggy not as a woman, but as a problem. And the clock is ticking. Either William stands up to them soon or Peggy walks away again. Broken Dot and Newport, that glittering cage of gossip and power plays. Bertha, once again, proves that she remembers who helped her and why it matters. Her support for Mrs. Fane wasn't just strategy, it was a rare flicker of empathy. While Mrs. Astor remains frozen in her old world rules, Bertha adapts. She evolves. But what makes her dangerous is also what makes her lonely. Every move she makes comes at a cost. And now that cost is closing in. As we move closer to episode 6, the stakes are no longer social, they're personal. The Gilded Age is no longer just about balls and status. It's about survival. Relationships are breaking, fortunes are at risk, secrets are slipping, and Bertha Russell is about to learn that power means nothing if the people you love walk away, and that's where the trailer begins. Asterisk. The trailer for episode 6 opens like a ticking time bomb. George is called in by none other than J.P. Morgan, and this isn't a friendly visit. The weight of it is immediate. Morgan warns George that the entire railroad industry is in chaos. Not just a setback. Not just a stock drop. chaos, which means everything George has spent his life building could collapse. His empire, his fortune, his pride, and worse, his control. We already saw the signs of stress in episode 5, the boardroom tension, the failed deal, the desperation in his voice when he begged Bertha not to push too hard, but she pushed anyway. And now, as the walls begin to close in, George might be facing the greatest loss of his career just as his marriage is hanging by a thread. And what makes this even more tragic is the irony. Bertha tried to secure their place in society by playing dangerously, and now that very game might take everything away. Then there's Clay, George's former right-hand man. He shows up in the trailer too, but not beside George. No, this time he's with someone else, whispering, shaking hands, possibly making a deal that could either sabotage George's company or save it. But Clay's motives aren't clear. Is this revenge or is it strategy? We know he was bitter after being fired. But the truth is, Clay knows the business better than anyone. And if he finds out that those mines everyone thinks are worthless might actually be valuable, he could hold the key to George's survival. Here's the twist. The trailer doesn't spell out, but it's there in the background. The Moroni mines repeated twice in episode 5. Dismissed too quickly. That's a clue. Copper is on the rise. The world needs it, and those mines might be the one thing standing between George and ruin. And maybe, just maybe, the person to realize this won't be George. It'll be Larry, who's been dismissed by his mother as too soft, too sentimental. Larry, who just proposed to a woman Bertha sees as beneath him. Larry, who might finally prove he's more than just a charming son. If he's the one to uncover the truth about those mines, if he brings that investment opportunity to the table, he could become the unlikely savior of the Russell legacy. But even as he steps into that light, darkness follows. Because Marion is starting to ask questions. The trailer shows her confronting Oscar about Larry, about the Haymarket, about what he's been hiding. And we already know how fragile trust can be. This is a woman who has watched love turn to betrayal before. If she thinks Larry is just another man lying to her, everything could fall apart. Again, Oscar, too, is walking into a storm. His moment with Ma Beaton is finally coming, and the trailer teases a confrontation full of tension and twisted truths. But even if Ma admits to the scam, it may be too late. Damani's gone, the damage is done. And Oscar, he's not just angry, he's humiliated. His pride is broken. And in a world like theirs, reputation is everything. What Ma stole wasn't just money, it was credibility. It was future. And now Oscar is desperate to get it back. But whether he'll succeed or spiral deeper is still unclear. Peggy's story also continues in the trailer. And it's not looking good. We see her speaking to her mother, finally opening up about what she's been feeling. The isolation, the tension with William's family, and it's clear Peggy is exhausted. She's been fighting to be seen, to be respected, and to be loved without conditions. And the weight of that battle is showing. But William, he still hasn't taken a stand. And if he doesn't, soon he'll lose her. The trailer shows Elizabeth Kirkland returning too, and she's not holding back. Her disapproval is loud. Peggy's presence is a problem she refuses to accept. And this time, it looks like the gloves are off. There's a look in Peggy's eyes one we haven't seen in a while. A look of someone who's deciding whether to stay and fight, or walk away for good. And just when we think it can't get any more intense, Gladys and Bertha arrive. In England, the trailer teases their arrival like it's a battle cry. Bertha finally stepping into Lady Sarah's territory. Not as a guest, as a mother on a mission. And Gladys. She's watching, learning, absorbing every calculated word and cold smile. We hear her say Hector has followed his sister his entire life, and Bertha responds with that now iconic line. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. That's not just advice. That's a lesson. Bertha is training her daughter to become her day. And the moment we see the Duke walking away with Gladys leaving Lady Sarah behind with fury in her eyes, we know something has shifted. Gladys isn't just surviving England anymore, she's beginning to conquer it. This entire trailer, from start to finish, is layered with tension. Every character is standing on the edge of something like changing. And what makes it all so thrilling and so terrifying is that nothing is certain. Not love, not loyalty, not legacy. Episode 6 is titled, If You Want to Cook an Omelet, and that's the clearest warning yet. This episode will be about breaking things, relationships, expectations, traditions in order to build something new. But what breaks may never heal. And what rises from those ashes might look nothing like the Gilded Age we've come to know. It might be sharper, colder, and absolutely unmissable. Everything in the Gilded Age has been building to this clash. Bertha Russell against Lady Sarah. Two women from entirely different worlds. With one thing in common, they will not back down. The moment Bertha steps foot in England, the atmosphere shifts. She's not there for pleasantries or parlor games. She's there to remind the British elite that the American new money isn't just loud, it's powerful, and she's not arriving alone. Gladys is by her side. And for the first time, we see Gladys not as a sheltered child or a struggling wife, but as a student standing before her greatest teacher. Bertha, the woman who's fought tooth and nail to climb New York society, is now channeling all that fire to protect her daughter. And it's terrifying in the best way possible. Episode 6. From what we've seen in the trailer, will be the moment Bertha unleashes her strategy, not through screaming or confrontation, but with sharp smiles, quiet manipulation, and undeniable presence. She knows exactly what kind of woman Lady Sarah is. Cunning, cold, deeply entrenched in an aristocratic world that views American women as vulgar, desperate, and irrelevant. And Bertha, she's about to shatter that illusion. What's most fascinating is that she doesn't do it for glory. This time, she does it for Gladys. The same daughter she's often used as a pawn in her social climbing game is now her priority. And Bertha wants more than just acceptance for Gladys. She wants victory. The Duke's shift in attention is already starting. In the trailer, there's a brief but powerful moment he leaves with Gladys, and Lady Sarah is left staring, furious. That one glance across the dinner table, that's the kind of silent war only women like Bertha and Sarah know how to fight. But underneath the elegance and etiquette, the stakes are enormous. For Bertha, this isn't just about a title or a social win. It's about repairing what's been broken. Her marriage is collapsing, her son is slipping away, her business circle is full of sharks. And England is the only place where she still has a shot at proving her power. If she succeeds here, if she helps Gladys gain ground, it may be the one thing that gives her the strength to return to New York and fix her own crumbling world. But there's a risk. Because for all her brilliance, Bertha is walking into a territory where rules are written in centuries of tradition and privilege. Lady Sarah isn't just a snob, she's a master of subtle sabotage. The whispered insult, the icy exclusion, the polite humiliation at dinner tables, and Hector Gladys's husband is still under her influence. His inability to detach from his sister is more than just annoying. It's dangerous. Because every time he chooses Sarah over Gladys, it chips away at his marriage. And Bertha knows that's why she's here. She didn't fly across the ocean just to give pep talks. She came to break chains. Meanwhile, back in New York, everything Bertha left behind is starting to burn. George's business problems aren't just financial, they're symbolic. His authority, his name, even his identity as a self-made man, are all under attack. When J.P. Morgan says the railroad industry is collapsing, what he's really saying is, you are not safe anymore. And with Clay possibly making a separate deal, the betrayal is echoing louder than ever. George is alone. And the most heartbreaking part, Bertha's not there. The one person who always had his back, even if she pushed too hard, is now fighting a separate war in another country. And that distance is where doubt creeps in. Then there's Larry, unknowingly holding the keys to the entire family's future. If he figures out the mines are worth something, if he brings that information to George before it's too late, he doesn't just save the Russell fortune, he proves himself. Not just as a good son, but as a capable man, separate from his mother's control. But timing is everything. And Marian's doubts, spurred on by Oscar and whispers about the Haymarket, could derail that just as quickly. One wrong move, one more misunderstood secret, and the entire engagement could unravel before Larry gets the chance to do something meaningful. Marian's been burned before. She won't tolerate another betrayal. Peggy's battle, too, is coming to a head. Elizabeth, Kirkland's hatred isn't hidden anymore, and William's silence is deafening. Peggy deserves joy, but happiness in this world, true, secure happiness, is the rarest thing. And every step she takes forward seems to be followed by another blow. If William doesn't finally stand up and draw a line between his mother and his fiancée, Peggy will walk. She has to, because no matter how strong her love is, no woman should have to shrink herself to fit someone else's mold. The trailer shows her confiding in her own mother, a reminder that Peggy has her own roots, her own voice, her own strength. And that strength is building. The emotional tension across this trailer is suffocating in the best way. Every frame promises another fallout, another reveal. Oscar's confrontation with Ma Beaton. Jack's decision about leaving, the family dinner where nothing is said out loud, but everything is understood. The Gilded Age is no longer just about society balls and corset drama. It's about legacy, identity, and the quiet wars we wage when we feel like we're losing. Everything, episode 6 isn't just a continuation, it's an explosion waiting to happen. And no matter how poised these characters seem, every one of them is standing in the blast zone. And now, the moment we all feared has begun to unfold quietly, but with the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. In episode 5, we witness the cracks between Bertha and George widen. But in what's coming next, those cracks may finally collapse into an emotional earthquake. Section 4 delves deep into the emotional storm now brewing behind closed doors. Let's talk about Bertha first. Yes, she's still standing tall, still commanding rooms with her steel will and calculated charm. But something in her eyes has changed. She's no longer just fighting for status. She's fighting to keep her world from falling apart. And George? He is slipping further into silence. Not the calm kind, but the kind that screams something terrible is about to erupt. He isn't confronting Bertha anymore. He's letting her go her own way, and that indifference is more dangerous than any argument. There's a scene where he simply says nothing, and that silence said everything. Now imagine what happens when two people who built a kingdom together no longer trust the ground they walk on. That's what makes episode 6 terrifying. And what about Aurora? She may seem like a quiet observer, but she's seeing all the signs, and her loyalty to Bertha is thinning. Even the staff are whispering. Now, sensing that the grand facade of the Russell household is beginning to tremble. Meanwhile, across the city, Marian has begun pulling back from her engagement, not because of a single moment, but because of all the little moments that have chipped away at her hope. She's questioning love, loyalty, and what kind of woman she really wants to be. Her heartbreak is quiet but devastating, and it's mirroring Bertha's like two women walking parallel paths toward pain. Ma Beaton's reappearance. It's no coincidence. Her arrival isn't just a family reunion, it's a warning. She sees what's coming, and unlike the rest of society, she's not afraid to call it out. And deep down, Bertha knows her mother might be right. But the scariest part, Bertha isn't backing down, she's doubling down. That means in episode 6, we're not just heading toward conflict, we're racing toward collapse. The emotional tension is unbearable, the betrayals are mounting, and the walls of Gilded Age high society are about to shake. Nothing is safe anymore, not love, not loyalty, and definitely not the Russell marriage. And that's why the next episode could be the most explosive one yet. And now, as we brace ourselves for episode 6, the Gilded Age isn't just glitter and power anymore, it's turning into a war zone of quiet betrayals and collapsing dreams. Everything that once held this world together, money, class, duty, and appearances is beginning to come apart thread by thread. The Russell Empire is no longer untouchable, and what's most chilling is that the cracks are forming from within, not without. Bertha's hunger for dominance in society is starting to feel more like desperation than ambition. Her obsession with outshining the old money elite was once strategic, but now it feels personal, almost frantic. She's losing sight of who she is outside of this war for acceptance. Even when she wins, it no longer feels like victory. And George sees that. He sees his wife becoming someone he doesn't recognize. A woman so bent on social conquest that she's willing to destroy the peace of their home, the balance of their partnership, and maybe even the heart of their family. Yet, he's not fighting her. He's stepping back. And when a man like George Russell steps back, it's not because he's given up, it's because he's planning something. Quietly, carefully, and that silence, it's dangerous. Because it means something final is coming. Elsewhere, slow heartbreak is becoming harder to hide. Every time she looks at her fiancé now, there's a flicker of doubt in her eyes, a quiet. What if that's starting to feel like a scream? The life she thought she wanted is slipping through her fingers, not because someone took it away, but because she's starting to realize she never truly wanted it in the first place. And with Aunt Agnes watching from the shadows, judging, waiting, Marian is suffocating under the pressure of legacy and duty. But maybe, just maybe, she's about to do something bold, something reckless, something freeing. And Larry, don't underestimate him. He's been in the background too long, but his silence has weight. He sees everything, his mother's obsession, his father's withdrawal, his sister's confusion. And there's a storm inside him, waiting. All it will take is one spark. And then there's Oscar Van Ryn, still dancing the dangerous line between pretense and self-destruction. His world is a house of mirrors, one wrong move, and it could all shatter. But he's not the only one living a lie. Society itself has become a performance. Everyone is wearing masks. Everyone is pretending. And behind every lavish dinner, every polite smile, every choreographed waltz, there's fear. Fear that the truth will come out. Fear that love will not survive this season. Fear that the past will return to ruin everything, and it's already happening. Because in episode 6, we're going to see something we've never seen before. The complete unraveling of a marriage that once looked indestructible. A betrayal that doesn't need screaming or scandal, just silence, distance, and cold. Terrifying. Indifference. Bertha will push harder than ever. George will grow colder than ever. And society will feast on the drama like vultures. The whispers are growing louder, the invitations are more strategic, and the games being played behind the scenes are darker than ever. Everyone is watching, everyone is waiting. Because they all know what we now know, someone is going to fall. And it might be the very person who thought they were untouchable. The final act of this emotional opera is about to begin. And not everyone will make it out with their reputation or their heart intact. The Gilded Age has never looked more golden or more dangerous. Get ready.